This game is the best deal I've gotten on a brand new release. It cost me less than $40 US, and that's the MSRP in Canada. With an MSRP of $50, it's not even a full price game. They could have asked for the full $70 going rate for PS5 games, and it still would have been a good deal because this game is a blast to play. I'll be honest, it wasn't even on my radar, and that's the reason why you're seeing this video a week later after its release. Remnant 2 is a soul-like third-person shooter. Think of it as Elden Ring but with guns. The game just throws you into this mysterious world full of dungeons. It's really yours to explore with very little guidance. And just like other soul type games, you're gonna die in this game, and I died a lot, especially during the boss fights. And the boss fights, it's some of the best I've seen in a while. They're not just about the shooting, you also have to nail down the movements and really learn the patterns and mechanics of each boss. You can't just go guns blazing and expect to come out with a victory. There's a lot of replayability here. You'll be going back to it time and again to grind out the best class builds, the best gear. With games like this, there's also the higher difficulty levels also that add to the replayability. Think of it as endgame for highly skilled players. One of my favorite aspects of this game is the multiplayer. Now, to play with others online, either randoms or your friends, you do need Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus membership. If you don't have those subscriptions, you can only play the game solo. Running through this game with a pair of buddies or even public matchmaking is the best way to play it, really. Perhaps that was what was missing from Elden Ring, the multiplayer. This game has a great multiplayer and it makes the whole experience 10 times better. Now, one disappointing aspect of all that is there is no cross-play or cross-saves. So if you're on PlayStation, you won't be able to play with your friends on Xbox or PC. No cross-saves means you also won't be able to continue your progress on different platforms. I would have really liked that feature. Cross-save would have allowed me to play on my home console and then pick up on the road on my Steam Deck. Crossplay would have made matchmaking much more efficient, much better. Public matchmaking seems to be better on the PS5 compared to Xbox. I guess because there's just way more players playing it on PlayStation compared to Xbox. I found myself getting matched closely to my campaign progress much easier on the PlayStation 5. The game's about 64 gigabytes on the Xbox Series S and X and 65 gigabytes on the PS5. Checking out the loading times from dashboard, the game is slightly faster on the PlayStation 5, 29 seconds versus the 34 seconds I got on the Series S and X. But all of that sort of cancels out because of quick resume. With Xbox, you can pick up right where you left off in only about 6 to 7 seconds. Now, this works when you're solo and not in a group. I was surprised though that it works because Remnant 2 is an always online game. You do need a network connection at all times to play it. Remnant 2 does use the new Unreal Engine 5 graphics engine. On PS5 and Xbox Series X, there's 3 graphic modes: quality, balanced, and performance. I'll talk about those in a little bit, but first I want to check out the Xbox Series S. The Series S doesn't have any graphic mode selection. There's just a default quality mode that runs the game at upscaled 1080p. However, the native resolution is likely somewhere around 900p. The mode itself is locked to 30 FPS. From the gameplay I did a couple of hours worth, the frame rate was pretty much locked to 30 FPS. I didn't really see any drops on the Series S. I know it would have been nice to see 60 FPS mode, but the less powerful Series S just isn't capable of that. At least it holds a solid 30 FPS performance though, which I guess isn't too bad for a third-person shooter. The quality mode on Xbox Series S and PS5 is also 30 FPS. Resolution on that is 1440p upscaled, but the native resolution is likely around 1300p, so it's very close to 100%. Visually, this is the most detailed mode. The graphics, the details and reflection and shadows look the best in quality mode. Of course, you do have to be okay with 30 FPS to enjoy quality mode. Now, I didn't really see any difference here between the Series X and PS5. Both behaved in about the same manner. The FPS test showed the performance to be stable. It stays at 30 FPS most of the time, with some minor single frame drops in certain areas, but it's pretty good overall. The Series X and PS5 also have balance mode. This bumps the target frame rate to 60 FPS. Resolution is 1440p upscaled again, but the native drops down to 800p. You're also gonna see a little bit less detail in the graphic shadows and reflections here. This mode does offer stable locked 60 FPS in a lot of the areas, but there's some where I saw significant performance drops. You can see right here, this area on the PS5 as well as on the Series X, it's gonna have the same sort of performance. The frame rate is averaging in the low 50s. It even gets into the 40s for a significant amount of time. The last and third mode on the Series X and PS5 is called Performance. Visually, in terms of graphics and resolution, this is actually very similar to the balance mode. I just couldn't tell much of a difference here. The native resolution is down to maybe around 720p, but very close to the balance mode again. The frame rate is unlocked. It means that if you have a 120 Hz display, you can see the numbers going above 60 at times, but probably not by much. One big problem with this performance mode is the screen tearing. There's a lot of screen tearing, both on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Because of that, I don't recommend this mode at all. My recommendation would be to stick with balance mode, which has decent performance without the horrible screen tearing. So that's what you need to know about Remnant 2 on Xbox Series S, Series X, and PlayStation 5.